On this episode of the Exactly How podcast and YouTube show, we uncover exactly how to cash flow using short-term rentals.
You're listening to the Exactly How podcast, where you'll hear the underground, closely guarded wealth-building secrets of successful people around the globe. Discover exactly how to improve your mental, physical, and financial health. Feel better, make more money, live, give, and prosper in today's exciting, fast-paced world filled with opportunity for those who know exactly how.
Welcome to the Exactly How podcast. During this episode, you're going to learn how to cash flow doing real estate rentals. Now, for those of you who are new, my name is Sean Young, today's host and proud member of the Connected Investor community. Now, before I introduce you to our next incredible guest speaker, I want to make a request that if at any point during this show you like what you hear, please hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Now today, we have the privilege to learn from a man who teaches individuals how to literally create cash flow. But prior to his career in real estate, he was a college dropout squatting in bank-owned properties. But all that changed when his wife went to the hospital because she couldn't eat anything or drink anything. I would describe our next guest as focused. I would like to introduce you to the one, the only, Massey. Now, before we dive exactly into how to cash flow using short-term rentals, Jay, you contribute a lot of your success to staying close to Jesus and your willingness to fail, fast forward, and frequently. Why do you think this has played such a huge role in your success?
Well, what it comes down to is we learn certain habits as we grow up. And there are certain systems that we've all participated in that have taught us how to be, how to act, and how things are to be explored even. Entrepreneurship is an experiment at best. It's definitely not a science. And in some cases, it can feel like an art. And for some people, it might even feel unreachable. But because it is partly an art, one of the greatest things about art is that you get to try and you don't expect it to be perfect on the first time. Yet, when we go to kindergarten through 12th grade, or, for those who went further, you learn a very important lesson. It's like you raise your hand, you get the answer wrong, and the entire class laughs at you. What ends up happening is that you develop a way to, I don't want to hurt like that again. That was embarrassing. So we associate that with failure. We don't want failure. It's not something that we seek. It's not something that we desire. And at the end of the day, Jesus gives me the freedom to fail because I get to start over every day. It's like, cool, that's awesome. And being able to pull that into a practical sense, athletes understand this. Musicians clearly get it because they don't get the notes right all the time. The ball gets fumbled. It's just what happens. And when you apply that to entrepreneurship, what ends up happening, and specifically in the real estate world, is you go through way more experiences in a lot shorter time, which then gives you the confidence to try, not only bigger deals, but more creative structures and to do more. There was no other way for me to learn something other than to experience it quickly and in a short period of time, especially when, like you said, squatting a bank-owned property, knowing that if I didn't find a way to sell something, we wouldn't have eaten.
Wow. So it was basically like almost a do or die scenario. And, you were forced into learning. Like you say, life forced you into learning.
Yeah, it wasn't something I was seeking, not at that time. I mean, that was not my personality. That was not something I wanted. Very few of us will choose to voluntarily create discomfort in our life. And I found that there's a lot of people who entered real estate because something was finally discomforting enough to get past whatever it is that you were afraid of, or whatever your self-concept or identity was, to finally do the activities that were required in order to make it work.
That's awesome. I'm really glad that you actually touched on that.
Yeah, this is one of the concepts that it's hard to envision sometimes, but it's if you try to do something that you have never done and you don't, quote unquote, have a safety net of any kind, the speed with which you attack it, the speed with which the depth with which you are willing to go, how fast you're willing to take that risk on is completely different than when you go, well, my worst case scenario is I fall in the net, right? Now, that doesn't mean you're still not scared, but your worst case scenario is you fall in the net. It's not my worst case scenario, I might die, right? And if you don't have something that can give you that comfort of, okay, here's my worst case scenario, right? Then you might not take the level of risk, the speed of risk, or the quantity of activity required with the correct intensity to actually make it happen. So I was gifted this situation. I don't wish it on anybody. I wouldn't have chose it, but that's what it took for me to get past all of my fear, insecurities, and anything just to open my mouth, talk to strangers, and make deals happen.
I like that. Are you guys soaking up what he's laying out, because it there's some key information that he's putting out here. He's basically saying he took the type of action that only someone with confidence can take. Have you ever tried to, let's say, play a sport, step up to the bat, and you're timid? You're like, I don't know if I can hit this or not, versus someone who steps up to the plate, steps in there, stands in place, and is ready to swing away when that good pitch comes across the plate. Those are two different type of players. And it sounds like Jay is that second type of player, the one who stands in there with the confidence and makes things happen.
Yeah, but that confidence is built upon hundreds of hours or thousands of attempts at failing first. I mean, I'm willing. I know that I don't know if I can hit the ball, and I'm okay with knowing that I don't know. But let's go find out. Right?
Find
Let's
out.
go. I'm gonna go find out,
Let's take
and I'm
some
gonna
swings,
keep
right?
finding out because I will find a pattern to success. There is a pattern to it, but you don't discover it on your first shot. You have to try many successive times before you can begin to see, oh, when I do this in this way or in this order, then it works. Okay, now I understand. And most of us, we don't stick in the game long enough to see the pattern, recognize the pattern, and make adjustments so that we can improve our ratios and efficiencies. We're just not willing to fail. We have to be if you want to be an entrepreneur.
You got
It's
to
just
be.
part of it.
You got to be. There's no other way around it, Jay. Now, guys, what makes the Exactly How Financial Freedom podcast and YouTube show unique is that every show comes with a detailed action plan. We pull the steps out of each show and create a blueprint on how to implement exactly what we're uncovering. Now, all you have to do is visit connectedinvestors.com/free to get the key takeaways, get the resources and the free gifts that Jay has generously allowed us to give you today. Now, plus, you're going to get our free training right now. All you have to do is text the word exactly to 910-600-0630 to see for yourself. This is exactly how I make my money, guys. You can find properties in any town for pennies on the dollars using this software that I use each and every day. So again, text the word exactly to 910-600-0630. Now, as nearly 1 million people know, Connected Investors is a social network of real estate investors and a marketplace of investment properties. In the description of this video, I've included a link to this episode's forum discussion. So, Jay, let's dive into the 3 steps that are involved with cash flow using short-term rentals. Now, before the show, you did break it down into 3 steps for us: find, fund, and fill. Can you break down step number 1 for us?
Absolutely. And it's the most counterintuitive, especially to those who have more real estate experience, because rule number 1 in real estate, we were all taught it's, location, location, location. And that is not how it works when it comes to being a short-term rental operator. That's not what you're looking for. The number 1 thing that you must figure out is who it is that you want to serve, because who that you want to serve, keyword being want, not have to, not anything other than that. That's what determines location, property size, what you put in the property. It determines everything else. For example, if I know that I'm going to serve a family that is traveling with small children, then hey, now things like making sure I have a 2-bedroom make sense, or a 1-bedroom with a particular type of sleeper sofa. That would also work. And if I, however, have that same situation where I want to be a short-term rental entrepreneur and I know I'm serving individuals who are not traveling with children, then a two-bedroom is almost always off the table, and I'm looking at studios and one-bedrooms. Also, though, whether you realize it or not, is that every individual, anytime they are needing temporary housing of any kind, they're doing so for a specific purpose. No one just randomly says, "Hey, let me go stay somewhere else for fun." There's always something that they're looking to do, which means doing an analysis of why is that person coming to the area will tell you where geographically you need to be, because most people tend to think, "Hey, I want to be near the airport." That's not quite true. You want to be near the thing that the person who is coming to the area, what they are looking to do. Everyone will make that trip from the airport to their destinations once. They don't want to make it every day. So the closer you can get to the thing that they are there to do, the better. Which means sometimes you're located near a hospital, sometimes you're located near a convention center, sometimes you're located near the business district, the beach, and or the amusement park. It all depends on who it is that you want to serve.
So basically, kind of having your end game in mind before you even get started.
Yeah, because who's going to use it? How is the property going to use? I find that that is the number one thing every real estate investor forgets. They don't even think about, once I have my long term tenant, how are they going to use it? Once I have my short term rental tenant, how are they going to use it? We spend so much time focused on the property, we forget about the person, and it's the person that ends up creating the return in the first place. And that's where more of our efforts absolutely needs to be. When you're operating as a short term rental operator, it's just you're doing that to an extra degree to figure out, hey, do I need a king size bed, queen size bed? Do I need to do twin beds? How many TVs? It's all relative to who it is that you want to serve. It determines everything. You want to know, what books do they read? What conferences do they attend? What is their job? Do they have one? Right? Because you can still do work, especially now in the nonprofit sector, where individuals are being displaced for various different reasons, or you can just do work with insurance companies. The gamut of how short-term rentals can be used, it's very, very, very wide open. And when you think about who it is that you want to serve first, the depth of opportunity becomes very, very apparent.
That is awesome. Great information. Great stuff. Which will bring us into our next step is, once you figure out what you want to do and what your end goal is, funding.
Got it. The question comes to me quite frequently, and it's usually not as it's different than what it comes down to when you're trying to purchase a piece of real estate. There's, for a number of reasons, the math continually proves out, and I know there will be conversation about it, but mathematically I can prove that, starting by leasing a property first is way better and more beneficial than owning the property first. I get that you want to own the property, but here's my, just accept this for a moment. What I prefer people to do is you take the pot of money that you've gotten. We're going to talk about raising that pot of money or putting that pot of money together in a minute. But let's just pretend, for the sake of this conversation, we're talking about, I'll use $250,000. You happen to have that, okay? You take that $250,000, and what you do is you go out there and create, uh, that's going to be at least 10, probably closer to 15 short-term rental locations. Here's what I know. Within the next 10 to 18 months, ran properly and with efficient systems, within the next 10 to 18 months, you're going to have your $250,000 back. And now you also have your 10 to 15 locations, which then creates a completely different situation than what you may be facing right now. What I want people to do is to create a down payment machine, a machine that can continually allow you to keep purchasing properties. Because here's what I know from all of the time in the real estate the space that I've spent. Many people like the BRRRR strategy, but that BRRRR strategy has a major weakness when it comes to refinance. And often, when you do get your first property, if you want to do buy and hold, you have got a challenge. How do I raise more capital? How do I do that again? Because one property does not a retirement make. And ultimately, if you take the time to build a down payment machine, then you can keep building, buying more and more properties. So the key to this whole thing is getting the first one. And believe it or not, most individuals are able to start their first one with a credit card. In fact, often less than, I would say, depending on the square footage, I always tell people to say $25 per square foot. That's a very conservative estimate. Yes, it can be done for less. It's just where I tell people to start.
Is that
And
when you say the $25 per square foot, that's in the repair estimate that you're referring to?
no, that's just no. That because we're going to lease the property first.
Okay.
I'm not going to repair anything. I'm going to take it rent ready, and I'm going to lease it. Meaning now I'm going to fill it with all the appropriate things relative to the customer type that I'm looking to serve. So if I've got a 5,000 square foot. Wow, not that big. 500 square foot property. I'm going to need, is that $7,500? Okay, great. I got to start somewhere, and but that's what I'm going to need to get started. Now that's a number that many people can get very very close to on a on a on a credit card. So and that's what I'm talking about. Sorry, that's actually 12.5. But that's a number that people can still get close to on a credit card. And that's my point, is the startup costs are very, very minimal, and the cash on cash return, which when you are in a pre-retirement state, which I suspect the majority of individuals listening to this episode or anything on this particular channel, that's what they're looking to. They're in a pre-retirement state. The most important thing you can do is accelerate your cash on cash return, and do so in a very tax advantaged way. So that's why we call getting that first one phase one. Phase two is in how do I duplicate that 10 times? And the key is to understand that once you have one, this is one of the few real estate strategies I have ever discovered. And mind you, I've done a lot. That self funding is a real thing. It's like a reality. And it creates this situation in which you no longer, because here's what happens traditionally. When you go to buy a property, especially your first one, do you realize that that's when your experience is the least? But yet you're being asked to take a 15, 20, 30 year risk. I mean, there are some marriages don't last that long. Just think about that for a second. And that's when you're being asked to take a really huge risk when your experience is the least. And all I'm saying is let's invert that. Let's increase your experience quotient. Let's give you a very stable system to produce consistent cash flow. And now let's then go to the table and start purchasing, because now you're purchasing knowing that in another 10 to 18 months, hey, I'm going to have this down payment money again. So there's way less pressure when you're at the closing and negotiating table, and you'll make way better decisions. And that's what we've been able to do and prove time and time again.
Awesome. Awesome. That is some great stuff, Jay. Now that takes us into step 3, the final step, which is fill.
Yep. So this is a very important question, especially right now, given the economic environment and the whole coronavirus situation, just everything that's going on. Understanding your customer also tells you where you might find them. For example, pre-COVID, yeah, it was easy. Just put it on an Airbnb or put it on a VRBO or what have you. And let me be very clear here. Airbnb is not a strategy. It is a marketplace, no different than Amazon. So I don't understand how you can use Airbnb as a verb is my point. So this is a key distinction, because once you understand that, then a new world begins to open up. For example, we've done a significant amount of business with hospitals and nurses simply because they've had to travel a lot, right? Yes, some of them do come from those traditional platforms, but what about contacting a hospital directly to fill your unit? We've done a significant amount of business with the government. Why? Because they've got a ton of people traveling around. The CDC, the COVID task force, they're everywhere. And guess what? They need consistent places to stay. We also have been able to do business with nursing homes. So hear me clearly. Many individuals right now are dealing with or thinking about, oh my goodness, grandma, grandpa, they're at the nursing home. What if there's a breakout there? How do we handle this? Because we can't go see them. What can we do? Well, short-term rental operators are right there for the rescue, because they're the person who is providing any sort of medical assistance, especially in a 2-bedroom, they can stay there too. And now they're in an isolated environment, whereas if there is a breakout at the home, you're not there. We've found many different ways to create use cases for what it is that we do. And for those of you right now who are thinking about, oh my God, my kids in school and how's that going to work? Wouldn't it be nice if your employer contracted with a short-term rental operator who already prepared a desk and the fastest fiber and or Wi-Fi for you so that you didn't have to try to figure out or fight over your kitchen table at home? You could come to our place, work there, and then go back home just like you used to. And we just changed the definition of what your work environment is. So when it comes down to understanding how to fill, this is why you must start with who it is that you want to serve, because that'll tell you where to go find them and what problem you're solving. Because you can't just, gone are the days, or I'll just put it on Airbnb and wait. Okay, wonderful. That does not to say we still don't get business from there, but that is cannot be the entirety of your strategy. You are a short-term rental operator. You don't have an Airbnb business.
I love it, Jay. I definitely love how you said that we're still solving problems, because that's what we're here to do. Is we're here to solve problems for our communities, guys. So if you take that approach, you're going to have huge success. If you go at it at a different way, where you just kind of look at it for the money, you won't attract the money. It just doesn't happen. I'm not sure why. That's just how it works. You have to go after the problems. I mean, I tell this to folks all the time. You literally have to try to find problems and be a problem solver. Would you agree?
100%, because I promise you, pre-COVID, the idea or the supposition of just being able to put it online and wait, that was kind of easy. That was there. We would take the low-hanging fruit, and there was more than enough of it. But soon as we lost international travel and the planes were grounded and all this other stuff started happening, we had to go find new problems to solve. And in fact, here's another one. Right now, your local colleges, some of them are trying to figure out housing for any of the students, because what are they going to do? I don't know. You don't know. But here's what I do know. We are already being contacted by parents who are trying to secure housing for their child so that they don't have to worry about, is the dorm going to be open or not? Or how is this going to work? My point is, there are more than enough problems to solve out there as it relates to temporary housing. Because today, yes, today, while you are listening to my voice, somebody's house flooded. And the only reason you aren't getting the phone call from the insurance company is because they don't know you exist, and they don't have the details of your property that could solve that problem. And there's so many of them that are still happening, even in this current economic virus filled environment, that still makes the business work. And that's the key to understanding how to still create cash flow, even when it feels like how on earth can this still be possible?
Absolutely. I love it. Guys, I hope that you are soaking up what Jay is laying down, because he is literally giving you a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge. I mean, this is great, great stuff here, guys. Now, as a reminder, if at any point in the show you like what you're hearing, please give us a thumbs up or subscribe to the show so that you don't miss an episode. Remember, your engagement is what keeps us doing this show for free, guys. So, Jay, what do you
Yes.
think your life would be like if you never got into real estate and you were still homeless living in a bank-owned property?
Somewhere near horrible is the first word that comes to mind. Because at the end of the day, I think there's a version of every human, all of us, nobody wakes up going, you know what? Today I'm going to aim straight for the bottom. I don't think anyone says that. And when you, that was such a state of cognitive dissonance, I can't even begin to explain, because you can feel like, aren't I better than this? But why am I not seeing better than what I'm currently experiencing? And there's only so much of that any human can take. I mean, that's why things like, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs sales go up during hard economic times, because it's like, man, aren't I better than this? I need an escape from it. I'm reasonably certain that, hey, I'd be down that path for sure, because I would have wanted an escape from it somehow, some way. Fortunately, I was able to claw and find a way to create value with the skill sets that I was given, and adding a ton more, because ultimately it's not about me. And this is another way of saying it's not about you, the person listening. It's not about you. You can create value regardless of your credit score, regardless of how much cash you have in the bank, because the marketplace is caring, can you solve my problem? Being able to put myself in a situation where I kept reading new books and watching new people practice ideas that I had never seen practiced before gave me the freedom to try. Just try, you know. And I've also learned not to ask, so what's the worst that could happen? It couldn't get any worse than this, could it? Because it can. I found that out personally, and just being really, really focused on controlling the mindset, what I was looking for, not what I was trying to necessarily run away from all the time, and being in consistent action towards that goal. I can't imagine. I don't even, it feels like a nightmare to even think about what the answer to that question, because that's a completely different version of myself I never want to meet.
Guys, his way out of that is action. You know, like one of my mentors actually says, rock bottom is actually a great foundation to start from. It's a solid foundation, but you know, you got to take action to get from that point, from point A to point B. You can't just think about it. You can't meditate on it. You can't pray on it. You've got to do.
I'm gonna read your way out of this one,
all
buddy.
of those things combined with action.
Yeah.
And you know, and I love that sign behind you that says you can't deposit excuses. I mean, either you're going to succeed or you're going to have an excuse. They can't simultaneously exist, guys. So you choose, you pick, you make a decision right now. Which one are you going to have, success or excuses?
Yeah, very clear. And that's the thing. And I had to learn those things. That was not something I grew up saying or thinking or believing or even doing. There is no evidence in my pedigree, my background that would make you go, oh yeah, I can see how he ended up there. Nope. Not a thing, I promise. And it was all just because, remember, I was hungry. We didn't have a way to eat. You want to talk about accountability? Just think about it. Think about what would happen if here's an experiment. I won't let myself eat today unless I write at least one offer. Just think about what would happen to your business if you did that.
And stuck to it, actually.
What's that?
And actually stuck to that. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you did that, just do it for 60 days. You don't even have to do it for long. It would be completely different.
Yeah, you don't have to do that for long.
No, not at all. And it would be something you would like, wow, I can't believe I did it. Yeah, it's simple accountability. My accountability mechanism was my stomach, because there was no other way I could create income to eat. Now, I'm not saying that I want that for you. You don't have to have that. But what I am saying is that that's the kind of consistent, focused accountability that you need in order to achieve something that you have never experienced or seen.
It definitely gave you clarity. I mean, you had no way around it. You were clear on what it took. You know, sometimes you can be a little fuzzy because you have crutches and things that appear to be, you know, crutches in the way, but they're illusions. They can be broken at any time. And unfortunately for you, you didn't have any crutches. You had to, you know, take it from that point and make something happen. Like you say, it's either you make it happen or you don't eat.
Yeah, period. I had no more luxury of pretending everything was okay. It wasn't okay. I'm like, no, it's not okay. And in fact, do you have a property you want to sell? Because it's not okay. And it's not going to be okay until I find a property. And if you don't have one, I have no more. I mean, I love you, but I have no more time to talk to you. And I got to go find one. But if you find somebody with one, please send them my way. I'll be right back. And it was just over and over and over and over again, because I had to eat. There was an urgency that I can't even begin to explain. But that is what it takes to make it happen.
Guys, it is rare that I find anyone that I interview or that I study that has success, that has not faced hardship. And like Jay said, you don't have to force yourself into that corner. Sometimes life will force it for you. But you definitely have to take on that mindset to get through the challenges. If success was easy, everyone would have it.
Right.
It is easy. It's just not simple. Same analogy. You can know exactly what to do in a gym, but following the process on a consistent basis, can you do that? That's the challenge.
Man, it's so funny you said that, because I during this whole COVID thing and having asthma and whatnot, I went and got a Peloton, and one of the awards or badges that you can win is for 5,000 minutes of activity specifically on the bike. And I was like, that ain't never happening, because that's what I was thinking when I'm like, 5,000, what? That's crazy. For those of you who don't know, that's close to about 83, 84 hours. And I'm like, how is that going to happen? Now, mind you, I'm approaching like day number 78 right now. And I'm like less than 200 minutes away from 5,000 minutes. And I'm like, well, I guess that wasn't as hard as I thought at the beginning, but it was constant, like 50 to 90 minutes a day, every day since May 15th. I just kept going, and it looked messy at first. It looks better today, but it was messy at the beginning. And now it's fun. So it's like, you can't get me off the darn thing.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Well, Jay, that brings us to the next part of our episode, which is the rapid fire section. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is just ask you a question, and then you just give me the first answer that comes to mind.
Okay.
Let's have some fun with this one.
Let's go for it.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how strict were your parents?
11.
Got it.
Military.
Get up early?
Sorry. Military.
No. Your answers are your answers.
Yep.
Get up early or stay up late?
Yes. Both is really what it comes down to. Get up early and stay up late. You work until the job is done. It's until.
Love it. Love it. How many hours of sleep do you get?
Last month, I averaged 4 hours, 34 minutes. And yes, I tracked it.
You can't know it if you're not tracking, right? Now, your favorite or your last book read, Jay?
Right now, I am reading The Color of Law. And wow, it is an absolute eye-opener when it comes down to just looking at how the United States in particular and its laws and how they have helped create some of the economic inequity that we see and that we are dealing with today.
Who's the author of that book?
The Color of Law is Rich. I'm trying to remember his last name, but it is Richard. Give me 1 second. I will definitely look that up because I've been on this journey because, when you experience a problem, any problem, one of the ways you can be part of the solution is to ask very simple questions like, how did we get here? Right? And when you ask that question, it's like, yeah, how did we get here? And you start doing, research and in my world, that's me. Let's go find out how did that happen? And how does all of these things tie together? And one of the clearest things you can do is read the Color of Law. It's Richard Rothstein, and he literally breaks it down from the beginning of the United States, law by law, in every situate from housing, because that's where we have the biggest challenge still, yes, today, to the school, to finances, the banks, everything, and helps tie it together to help you see a completely different picture of what we're dealing with. And it's like, wow, how do we fix it? That's a whole different story. But if that's something you're looking for and if you're curious about, definitely highly recommend it.
Sounds like a good one. Thank you for that one, Jay. Now, if you could be any superhero, who would it be?
Any superhero? Okay. It's really funny because I have this toss up. I'm always stuck between Iron Man and Doctor Strange because I feel like I relate to them both in a very interesting way. But it's Iron Man, Doctor Strange. I'm so torn. There are some days I feel like Iron Man, and there are just some days Doctor Strange is kind of my jam. So I'm still torn between the two. So I'm not 100% yet. We'll leave that to the people in the comments below to figure out.
Leave that to the comment section. Got it. Now, something everyone should do less of.
Procrastinate. Starting before you are ready is one of the keys to making things happen. If you haven't seen the movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, it's based on the life of a gentleman by the name of Chris Gardner. Two things I learned from him very clearly: the cavalry isn't coming, and start before you're ready. Quit waiting around for someone to come and rescue you. You must participate in your own rescue. And then, regardless of your level of education, remember, PhD here. That means public high school diploma. PhD, that's what I got, okay? Regardless of your education and your background and history, take the next step forward. Just one, and do that every day, right? Because in the financial world, admitting that all you have is a public high school diploma isn't exactly like, okay, let me listen to him, right? Yet, cash flow is what we do. Cash flow is what we teach. Cash flow is what we've been able to help individuals change their family trees with. And it doesn't have anything to do with having all the letters after their name. And it has nothing to do with how much money someone starts with. And it really, really comes down to starting before you're ready.
Guys, that makes a lot of sense. There is no right time. The time to get started is now.
Did you see the clock? It's now o'clock.
Now o'clock. I love it. I love it. What time? Now. That time.
That's right.
Something everyone should do more of.
Read. Period. Because the ideas, the solutions to your problems are somewhere outside of you. There's a different level of thinking that the author is coming to the table with. Problems, as Einstein said, problems cannot be solved at that same level of thinking. And again, you've done your best, okay? And you never woke up and said, hey, I'm aiming for the bottom. So you've done your best. Now, your best may still have created a reality that you do not like. Fine. So seek somebody else's ideas, consume them, try them, because you've already tried yours and you got what you got, right? So you're reading the book to try someone else's ideas, not just read and know about someone else's ideas, try them, because that's where the true assimilation of the learning takes place. And that concept specifically, the slight edge, Jeff Olson, if you can just marry those concepts together, you'll make way more progress.
Great stuff. Bitcoin, bang or bust?
Super bang. Because here's the thing, we have a problem with our fiscal policy. And if silver, gold, or any other precious metal, oil, or commodity is not accessible to you, all I'm going to say is you're going to strongly need a defensive play against the money printing and devaluation of your purchasing power that is constantly occurring, period. And that's where it comes down to. So I've been a fan of digital assets for a while and continue to be for that very reason. It gives every one of us an opportunity to protect ourselves, whereby most individuals are saving currency which is going to be and is constantly purchasing less and less. And you need a defensive strategy. And especially compared to saving precious metals, it's easier to store and keep safe than silver or gold.
Awesome. Will people live on Mars in your lifetime?
No.
Got it.
I mean, Elon's great, but no.
Jay's like, no. Got it. Jay, this has been awesome. This has been an awesome show. And guys, you have made it to the end of the show. And most people don't finish what they start, so you're special. Now, if you got any value out of today's show, please make sure you share this episode with a friend or on your Facebook page. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and send us topics you want to learn more about. Now, like I said, nearly 1 million people use the Connected Investors social network and marketplace to connect. Now, in the description of this episode, we've included a link to this episode's forum discussion. Tap that link, ask me and other pros questions, and see what the investors are saying about this episode. So guys, until the next time, you can catch me on the inside of Connected Investors. See you soon.
The Connected Investors app connects you with investors, notifies you of available properties, helps locate cash buyers, and secure private funding to close deals. Set up in seconds to become a member of the Connected Investors social network. Now you can scroll through your main feed to find cash buyers, see investment properties not available to the general public, and network with investors by adding your own comments to a thread to keep the conversation going. The Control Center is your connection to add properties to sell, start new discussions, connect with local investors, and even find private funding. The Notifications tab will keep you alerted to new investment properties and offers. You'll also find new friend requests to connect directly with the community to build your network. From the property marketplace, you'll be able to find, favorite, and make offers on investment properties. Download Connected Investors today to find, figure, fund, and flip investment properties on the go.